Hi, I'm Brandon. I love Hallmark movies.
I'm Dan, and I despise Hallmark movies.
And I'm Doug, and I love Hallmark movies so much, I want to be in one or several over the rest of my life.
And this is the Deck the Hallmark podcast.
Deck the Hallmark, it's his podcast.
Dan and friends host this podcast.
I feel like when we have a guest, we shouldn't play the whole intro. It's
awkward.
We don't need that. We don't
involved.
need that. Dougie, hello, my friend.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, how are my precious puppies today?
The venerable Doug Jones.
It just feels right. We got a lot of people when they found out that Doug was coming back on the podcast. They were very excited.
Yes.
Doug, on social media, people were like, yes, Doug's coming back. And part of that is it's been so long because you weren't able to join us over the holiday season.
That's right.
Because you were shooting a little film that we're going to talk about in a little bit. But were you able to, during the holiday season with all the shooting and whatnot, were you able to watch any Hallmark Christmas movies this past year?
Well, yes, because whether I'm in Toronto or in the States at a hotel somewhere, if they have the right cable system, I can tune into the Hallmark and on my off time. And, they're running 24/7 at that time of year.
Right.
So whatever you missed during its premiere airing, it'll air again and again and again. So I can catch them on the reruns. And Mrs. Laurie here at home, she records the ones, all the new ones. So if I get home and say, oh, I haven't seen the one about the little town, then I can see that one.
The little town.
You don't want to miss the one about the little town.
No, that's a classic.
It's a classic. Yeah.
I know all the titles run together. Do you remember one that stuck out to you last holiday season, or is it all just magic?
No, the titles all run together, of course. I'm trying to think. Was it last year that one of my co-stars from Star Trek Discovery, Ronnie Rowe Jr.
Yeah, that's Jingle Bell Bride.
He was the flower guy up in Alaska.
Yeah.
And a wedding planner had gone up there to get a special flower.
Yeah.
It was that last year, I
It
think.
was 2 years ago, I believe.
Oh, look at me.
Ronnie Rowe.
Ronnie Rowe.
Ronnie Rowe.
Ronnie Rowe is a great Instagram follow.
Oh my gosh.
He does these like little
motivational
Yes.
things. He always starts with
What is going on, everybody?
It's your boy Ronnie.
It's your boy Ronnie Rowe.
Yeah,
Ronnie Rowe.
His tagline is "Go get your greatness."
That's
The
right.
Get your greatness.
The 3 G's. Yeah,
And he
Go
is
get your-
always so sweaty. He's always so sweaty, but
Yeah.
it's great. I don't know why that guy's always sweaty, but he's
And
always
his
sweaty.
voice is
Oh.
silky smooth, just
Yeah.
like smooth.
Yeah. He was quite a loss because he actually departed our show during season 4 because he got his own series called The Porter, which has been running on BET, I think. At least in Canada, it has.
Okay.
It's about the old 1920s train porters. They were all black, and there's backstory as to why, and
Wow.
and Ronnie was at the centerpiece of that series. So it's like, good on him. We were, he was our communications officer on our ship, and he got scenes here and there, but this was a way better gig for him.
Yeah.
This is actually a Ronnie Rowe fan podcast.
Yeah,
And
we tricked you to
That's
come
why
on,
we
Doug.
invited Doug
It's,
Jones out here tonight.
In all honesty, though,
Good.
Doug, I mean, we never cease to be amazed by. I mean, you're in Hocus Pocus 2. We're going to talk about your monster movie extraordinaire, Guillermo del Toro's guy, and you're a series regular on TV right now. And just to the fact that we've had you on 3 times to review a movie, plus times to interview you, we're always grateful when you come back around, man. Are you kidding me? Anytime you have for us is great for us.
Well, I'm grateful that you come back around for me, because I'm such a fan of yours that I'm like, oh, I'm all starstruck. I get to talk to the Hallmark boys again. Deck the boys.
Deck the boys.
Deck the boys. That's right.
Doug, you kept coming to mind. I don't know if you kept seeing the Stranger Things stuff that was on social media with Vecna this new season, and they kept posting these videos of him getting all of the makeup on. And all these like pictures are going viral of him like drinking Starbucks out of a straw through his mask and through the did you I was excited that like the monster was finally getting like some love on social media, because knowing all the stories that you've told us of how long it takes to get this makeup actually on in the process. Did you get to see any of that? And is it exciting as a guy who gets to be monsters on a regular basis to see the monster and the people that are doing the work to put monster on on you and on Vecna to like get some love on social media. It's exciting. People love the monsters.
It is, and they do, and they're loving them more and more. It's funny because a lot of people have contacted me on the social media saying, "Is this you?"
Yes,
from Stranger Things. And anytime there's a tall, skinny creature that does this, they think, "Oh, that's got to be Doug." But the truth is, there's a lot of youngins coming up that I'm really proud of, and God bless them. If you want to get laced in rubber from head to toe, have at it.
Doug, I was watching Stranger. Have you seen it? Do you watch it, or you not care about that?
I've never seen the series.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, you say this. You play a monster all the time. You get home, you want to watch some Hallmark. Totally understand. I was watching, and the first time you see Vecna on screen, I sat bolt right up in my chair and was like, "Is that Doug Jones?" And I don't think all monsters look alike. That's not what I'm saying. But this particular monster, it felt like the Duffer Brothers were like, one of those Guillermo del Toro practical effect Doug Jones monsters, like that. Like he's got the long fingers and the tall, slender. Like it was uncanny how much that it felt like it was from your universe. So that is, and that's not always been the case. Sometimes Stranger Things, their monsters are like digital and CGI and all that stuff. But I'm not surprised you got a lot of contact about it, because the first scene I was like, did Doug Jones do Stranger Things and we didn't hear about it somehow? Like because that's how impressive the makeup was. So I mean, anytime you get compared there, but
it's amazing seeing the back story of like all the iterations of the practical effect and like how it kind of came to be, and then eventually they put it on somebody. How like for like Hocus Pocus, for example,
Billy Butcherson. Billy Butcherson. Back for more.
He's back for more. What is that process like for you as the guy who's getting in the makeup and all of that? Do you get to see kind of the arc of where it was to what it actually ends up being eventually, or do you just show up and you're like, all right, I guess this is me today?
The arc being like during the process of going from human to creature. There's when you're in a makeup trailer, it's a wall of mirrors in front of you, so you watch the whole thing happen.
Wow.
And it is helpful almost, I think, to see the transformation happen. You're living it, you're breathing it. So when you walk out of the makeup trailer, it helps inform the character. Now I know what I look like for sure. Now I can, embody this thing that I've become, as well as your internal actor schmactor stuff you got to do. But I know I've had so many jobs, including Hocus Pocus, that I've done, so many roles I've played, film, television, where they have a GoPro camera set up to watch the entire thing, in quick time from start to finish. I've had that filmed many a time, so it is nice to see these younger actors coming up that are getting that same kind of airplay. Here's what so and so went through, and I've got to look this guy up from Stranger Things to find out what his name is, so I can give proper credit when it's when people tag me wrong.
But go ahead. So I know we've got so much we can talk about, and we can talk about Hocus Pocus 2 and the inner workings of that. And how that came to be. Because you're such a good storyteller, as soon as I heard you were coming on to do this, Hocus Pocus 1 came out in 1993.
Yeah.
And I'd love to hear a snapshot of where Doug Jones, the actor, was and what he was up to when he got the call to say, you're going to be Bette Midler's zombie ex-husband in 1993 versus what it was and whatever. Was it this year or last year? Probably, I would guess, when they said, hey, we're doing another Hocus Pocus, like kind of like, just because that's like basically your career. I mean, that's 30 years spanning between the putting on that suit again. So I'd love to just hear that snapshot, because that was the thing that I wanted to hear most when I heard you were coming back on.
Right. And I wanted to hear about it too, because I was like, boy, things are different. 29 years later it's a huge difference. A lot of life, a lot of career has happened in that time. 1990, we were filming it in 1992.
Okay.
And this was just after. All I had done at that time was a whole bunch of commercials. I'd been a commercial actor for years, starting in 1986. Including the Mac Tonight campaign for McDonald's. That big crescent moon head that sang at a piano, hey, when the clock strikes, ho! That was me.
They're going to
So-
ask you to do that. Mac Tonight 2 is coming out in 2023.
Max Night, 30 years later, exactly.
Yeah.
So as far as movies go, I had done a couple of horror films that fizzled out pretty quickly, but the big I had been a pirate in the background.
Oh, Hook! You told us this.
Hook.
In Hook, yeah, I remember that story.
Right, so that was kind of a big deal for me to even be a part of such a huge production, directed by Steven Spielberg. Right after Hook, Batman Returns, I was one of Danny DeVito's sidekicks as the Thin Clown in his Red Triangle Circus gang that he hung out with.
Yes.
And then while I was then right on the tail of Batman Returns, I was cast in Hocus Pocus. So I was still fresh to the movie scene, and in Hocus Pocus, this was my first time getting my name in the main titles of a movie with a significant supporting role that people might even remember. So I was kind of beside myself, and a huge fan of Bette Midler's. I was also very aware and a fan of Sarah Jessica Parker at the time, because she had her Broadway beginnings, and I was well aware of who she was. Kathy Najimy was doing the Kathy and Mo show in New York, and had a very funny stage presence. So I was aware of the other two, but Bette Midler was the one I was like, I'm going to play her ex-boyfriend from what? So meeting her, I was just kind of like, I had to stop the drooling and stop the flubbering and the, so nice to meet you. So that's the biggest difference I noticed, was coming back 29 years later, after a lot of life and love and career. Bette and I, she was treating me more like a peer this time, instead of that new actor that's in a rubber makeup. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was the big difference. She was well aware of my career. She was asking me all about how was it filming The Shape of Water? Oh my gosh, that was such a gorgeous movie. And I'd also helped her out on her Halloween special the year before. She does a Halloween special every year for her charity in New York called the New York Restoration Project.
Oh, fantastic.
And normally she has a live event. It's a big red carpet event where she has lots of celebrities come in New York. Couldn't do it that year because of COVID. So she was doing it all on the line, as you kids say. So she was asking people to, film things, and they were going to edit it all together for a big special subscription kind of TV special on the line. And so she called me directly. I don't know, out of the blue. Bette Midler's calling. Hey, I haven't talked to you in 30 years. How you doing? So she asked if I would be willing to get back into my Billy Butcherson look to do a segment for this special. This was the year before we started filming the sequel. Wow.
So was there even talks of a sequel at that point?
There was talks of it and rumors of it for 9 years. Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But as far as it being a reality, it was all, I think getting the 3 original witches back was, that was key. That had to be in place and contracted before the rest of us were going to hear about it.
Yeah.
So I did this Halloween special for her. She called it her Huluween special, because she has her Hawaiian roots, and it was great fun. She got Mariah Carey. She got Meryl Streep to participate. A bunch of the original cast from Hocus Pocus, and all of it. It was a huge event online, and so when we saw each other for filming we filmed in Rhode Island, because the film takes place in Salem, but Rhode Island must have offered them a better tax incentive. I have no idea. Yeah. All right. So we were filming between Providence and Newport, Rhode Island. And so when Bette saw me on set for the first time, back in my Billy garb, she was all like arms out, hugs, and her first words were, "Thank you so much for helping me out with the the Halloween special last year." And so we had that going already, and then now she also was again treating me like a peer. We had a great conversation about series television. She was asking me how it was going for me now, and I said, well, being on Star Trek Discovery, I'm about to start filming season 5, and now I am filming season 5, but I was like, I'm kind of suffering you finish one episode, you've memorized a ton of dialogue that's really not easy to say, and you've had put in all the hours to make this complete little package of an episode, and then the next day you start the next one all over again. And she's like, oh no, I totally remember this, because she had her sitcom Bette
That's right.
For a while. And it was the hardest thing she said it's the hardest thing she's ever done, because, you know, a sitcom you're doing in front of a live audience. So you have to get it up to performance level by Friday and then do it. And it's all, you know, comes out like a stage play. And then Monday you're starting rehearsals for the next one right off the bat. And I saw her in an interview with maybe, I think it might've been Johnny Carson at the time. I'm not sure. Maybe that went, who was still doing the late nights back then. And she was telling that story, and I remember her saying that, like, oh wow, I've always wanted to be a series regular on something, but that sounds hard. Now I'm living it. And I could tell her about it. And she was like, oh, I know. And then Kathy and the Jimmy got in on the conversation, going, oh, you know, because she did Veronica's Closet as well.
Yep.
And she had a very lovely experience with it. So we were it was kind of fun hobnobbing with these huge stars about, you know, yeah, our time on series television. Yeah, it's kind of, you know, when 30 years ago I was like this newbie going, I'm in a movie.
That's right.
You know,
this is the moving pictures. We're doing
it. Right. So big. The other thing that was really, really cool to see was the crew. The crew in the first movie, you know, we were filming in Los Angeles in the Burbank studios. All my stuff was there. They did some exteriors in Salem, Massachusetts. But the crew was like, you know, again, I was this unknown actor playing this part with a big silly wig and wrinkly skin, whatever, you know, coming back to do the sequel 30 years later. All of our crew were kids who had grown up with that original movie.
That's unbelievable.
So when the Sanderson sisters showed up on set, it was like the Beatles had returned, right? When Billy Butcherson showed up on set, Elvis had come back. You know what I'm saying?
Unbelievable.
Yeah, no, the reaction from the kids on the crew, and you know, can I get a selfie with you? Shh, don't tell anybody. You know, it was just a lot of that, and it was really that changed the game completely, and made me realize what kind of legs Hocus Pocus has had over the years, and how it's only grown in popularity instead of faded like a lot of movies do.
I feel like I hear more about Hocus Pocus. Like I've heard more about it in the last 10 years than the previous 10 years. Like all honesty, like 2012 to 2022, I heard more about Hocus Pocus than I did from 2002 to 2012. Like, I don't know what that is. And I was in that household growing up that I couldn't watch it purely because it was about witches. Like you know what I mean? Like
I was in the same household. Yes.
Yeah. Cause I remember you tell me about, like, you didn't want to do Hellboy at first. Like, so like, I didn't get to grow up with this movie because I wasn't allowed to see it when I was a kid. Right. And so that's all, cause it's wheelhouse childhood for me. I mean, 10 years old, like that's the age for that.
I watched it for the first time during COVID.
Brain's young, Doug.
I was
man.
I was 0 years old when you were filming the movie, not to make you feel old. So I had never seen.
It's not up to you to make me feel old. I take care of that myself.
So I had never seen it. I watched it during COVID, and I was just like, this is a bizarre movie. This movie has certain, I don't know if it's aged. I don't know if this movie, are you like, I imagine you are always surprised when something like takes off. You never know what's going to take off and what's going to, you know, last a lifetime. But that movie in particular is just so bizarre. There's so many bizarre bits of it. Are you just shocked, like all this years later, that it's like got the legs that it has?
Well, yeah, because especially when we filmed it, you know, whenever you're filming something, you think this could be a big hit while you're making it.
Right.
We all felt that way during the making of Hocus Pocus 1. And then when it came out in theaters, they opened it in July instead of October, you know, kind of missing the holiday season it was meant for, and advertised it as a Bette Midler comedy because she was on a string of comedies at that time with, you know, Outrageous Fortune and Big Business and Ruthless People, and she had just done Beaches before this. So she was, you know, they were marketing on her name as a summer blockbuster against all of these huge summer blockbuster movies, and it really was a family-friendly kids film for Halloween. So it kind of missed at the box office. So we just thought, and this is 1993, so before home video is what it is, before any of these Webernet streaming devices.
That's right.
You know, right. So we thought if it fizzles at the theater, we're done.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought, like, oh, well, I guess I won't be a household name after all. And I slumped away and drank a hot chocolate. So, but But with the TV airings, then Disney Channel and Freeform, now what used to be ABC Family Channel, started airing Hocus Pocus in high rotation during Halloween time, year after year. Then our TV audience kind of like started tuning in, and then like, how do I get a copy of this? So that's when VHS started selling off the shelves, and everybody wanted it in their home, in their kids' collection. And then it came out on DVD, then it came out on Blu-ray, now 4K, and there's been, and then with all of the Disney Plus streaming, it's the audience has such access to it now that I never knew was possible back when we made it. So because of that, people who have grown up with the movie are now having kids of their own, and they're growing up with the movie as we have. So it's multi-generational now. It's kind of like The Wizard of Oz was. My parents, showed me The Wizard of Oz as it came out, as it was an event film every year. You sat down with the popcorn that you made on the stove, and you watched the Wizard of Oz, because if you miss it on the airing, you miss it for the next year. So Hocus Pocus is, even in this era of streaming, and we have it on the shelf, can watch it anytime. It's still a sit down, have the viewing party, have the family come together, kind of an event film, which is rare anymore. So with Hocus Pocus 2, I keep asking people at the conventions I've been showing up at, and the promos I've been doing, are you going to be watching Hocus Pocus 2? Oh my gosh, yes. We already have the viewing party planned. We're going to be in costume. It's like, so people are planning big events for September 30th.
Yeah. And September 30th. So that's a much more seasonal debut. You're going to get to actually release it during Halloween.
I think,
which is going to help. I can't imagine watching Hocus Pocus in July.
No,
I can't imagine being like, well, the fireworks were nice. Just took a dip in the pool. Now it's time for a nice Salem Witch Halloween movie.
Absolutely is.
Good gracious.
What was the difference in makeup, wardrobe for
budget wise
in 1993 versus now? Was it a lot bigger budget, did it take a lot longer back in 1993, or things kind of, it's makeup, like it takes as long as it takes no matter what year it is?
Yeah, well, the filming, each year the filming was about 3 months each for both movies. The budgets felt big on both of them, big and colorful. Hocus Pocus 2 is going to feel and look like a continuation of the first one. It does take place 29 years later, so they do pick up a new story with new kids. And the four of us that are back from the original film are the three witches and me, the immortals, with a new storyline, new adventure, new kids. But it does have the same color palette, the same humor, the same musicality. So it is in the same absolute franchise package as the first one. Now, as far as the process on me goes, getting me into makeup, is that what you were talking about? Like, has that changed? That has not changed at all. Because when you're gluing rubber onto somebody's face, you're gluing rubber onto somebody's face, period. Right. It's like the products might change or be, less toxic, less chemically or whatever, but it's still, you have to put an adhesive here to get a piece of rubber here,
So, no way around that.
It's killing you. It's killing you a little less, but it's taking the same amount of time. And so,
right.
The important thing.
Doug, this isn't Hocus Pocus related. It might be. What's the biggest budgeted movie you've ever been on? Like, you were on set and you were like, oh, this is absurd.
Right. I think it,
Hook.
I've been in so many movies that look huge. Hook might have been.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
Batman Returns also might have been in that ilk. But I think the one that I was aware of having a $120 million budget, maybe, I think in that realm, was Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Oh yeah. They were spending serious money on that movie.
Another huge sequel. Yeah. And and it's when budgets are that big, you also notice, I also do lots of independent films in the hundreds of thousands of dollars of budget.
That's right.
So seeing the difference between the two, when people are scrimping and saving and planning and scheduling to make every dollar count, and then you look at these huge bloated productions where you see wasteful things happening, and you're like, oh gosh, I know an independent film that could do an entire movie shoot off of your craft service budget. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. So,
well, it's one of these things where it makes me, it makes me more impressed with big budget filmmakers when they make a good film, because
Right.
when you're an independent film, you just don't have a choice but to be a community. You know what I mean? Like you got to
Right.
share everything, and you got to
Right.
be around each other, and you got to pretty much like each other, or the movie's going to implode. Whereas
Exactly.
with the big budget, everybody's got their own trailers and own dressing rooms and own craft service and blah, blah, blah. It's impressive to me when someone can put, like a Steven Spielberg can pull all that together and still make it feel like a warm and cozy environment. And I'm sure you've had experiences across the board there, but like hearing that, it makes me just even more impressed with the big budget side of things.
Right. Well, and I would say that the biggest budget studio films I've done that have felt like that community indie film vibe have been the Hellboy movies, probably with Guillermo del Toro at the helm, and all of us, actors. There weren't any divas among us. We all got along so well like a family, and even then, Guillermo had a certain budget that was healthy, but he had to make it look like it was twice that.
That's right.
So he had to treat it like it was an independent film. What was I had another thought that I just lost. Gone.
It's totally fun.
Yeah,
It's gone. When it comes back, you just let us know.
Okay.
Let us know.
Do you know what what actually happened to make Hocus Pocus 2 finally a reality? Was it like COVID? Like, was it, okay, now we actually have the time to actually focus on this? Or what was it something that finally happened that was like, okay, after 9 years of wanting it, we're finally doing it?
Right. Well, the reason I mentioned 9 years is because we it's coming out 29 years after the first one. It started being talked about. The rumors I started hearing about it from the studio level was at our 20th anniversary screening of the movie. That one of our producers was there saying, "Hey, we got plans for a sequel." I'm like, "Wow, really?" So that was 9 years ago. So in the meantime, I think I'm not sure if it was what's the story going to be? Where's it going to show? Are we going to try another theatrical release this time, or is it going to go straight to Disney Plus, which is what they are ending up doing? I think it could play huge at the box office this year. I really do. Yeah. But Disney Plus has their reasons that above my pay grade. I don't know. But I think the biggest issue was who's going to be in it, and can we get them? I think that's it.
Yeah.
So do you have a new generation of main witches, or do you bring the originals back? And that would include me too. Is it just going to be a Hocus Pocus 2 with a whole, like the same kind of story, but all different cast? Well, getting the three witches back, if you now that, again, 29 years later, Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy and Jimmy have also gone on to do bigger, more things. And so getting everybody to say yes and come back contractually, that might have been the issue. Again, above my pay grade, I don't know. But what I was hearing was the first phone call I got saying, it's going to happen, or it's in the works. Just be ready. Here's the filming schedule we think we're going to have. But what we were waiting for was for Bette, Sarah, and Mary and Kathy, for all of their contracts to be cinched up and signed and done. Once that happened, the rest of us could join the movie. You know what I'm saying? So we were really waiting for those three top stars to say yes and come to an agreement.
So it was a no-go without those three.
Absolutely. This time, I think that's what I heard. Yeah.
Non-negotiable.
I want to talk to you a little bit. You brought up streaming, and now I'm just interested to hear your thoughts on it. Like, for me, I'm such a Dan and I
we get angry. You want to hear us sound as old as anyone in the world?
We love the theater. We got our Regal Unlimited. We go as often as we can.
We get a big. Last Friday at 11 a.m. Our kids are in school, wives working or doing something else. Brandon and I went to see a horror movie at 11 in the morning. Got a big bucket of popcorn. Poured some M&Ms on the top of it. I mean, we're just sitting next to each other like just two old dudes.
I'm just an old fart. I'm just like, I want to watch movies in the movie theater, and I want to watch TV shows at home on a TV. I don't want to watch a movie at home. I have a hard time. I still haven't watched West Side Story because I didn't see it in the theaters. So great. I didn't see it in the theaters, and I can't make myself watch it at home. I have such a hard time. So is it as an actor, as an artist, you go into this thing, you do this thing for 3 months, big production, big fun. This is a movie, and it's going on Disney Plus. Is it part of you that's like, man, I wish not? I can't imagine watching Shape of Water on this. The big screen for Shape of Water was the experience. I can't imagine watching it on a small screen. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I agree with both of you wholeheartedly, and I'm also an old guy, well, literally and figuratively. So I also enjoy the theater experience. There's nothing like it. You when you're at home watching, even if you have a big TV with a great sound system, you still have distractions and the kitchen right there and your phone right here that you're allowed to use, which you're not in the theater.
Yeah.
So there's enough to take you away from that screen and away from that, at home. I really appreciate the big screen, sit in a theater, dark lighting, do it experience. So and you're right, as an actor, when you put that much heart and soul and that much work and effort and blood, sweat, and tears sometimes into a movie role, the last thing you want to do is see it for the first time on a phone.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Good gracious.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm with you. I'm actually going to get to see Hocus Pocus 2 on a big theater screen because we're having a big premiere in New York for it.
Oh, wow.
So that'll be my one theater screening experience that I'll have. But you know what? Hocus Pocus 1 has been revived many Halloweens since it came out. In these later years that it's more popular, they'll have a limited theatrical run in October, and they pack the house. In fact, during the lockdown pandemic, when no movies were coming out at all and a few theaters were still open, they re-released Hocus Pocus.
That's where Brand saw it.
That's when I saw it for the first time. I was dying to get back to the theaters, and I was actually willing to die to go back to the theaters. I did it. And that's when I watched for the first time. So
okay, and it was #1 at the box office.
That's wild.
So that's what I'm thinking. I would love to see Hocus Pocus 2 it may still have its theatrical run later, but I think Disney Plus is doing a marketing promotional thing. You can only get it there, so you got to come back.
Disney Plus didn't release like 3 of the last 5 Pixar movies on the big screen. I mean, Pixar movies went straight to Disney Plus, so like that is a viable release. It's not like they're shelving.
And that's
like a big deal.
Those are like illustrators that are spending years of their lives. And it's just like, oh yeah, we're actually just going to.
Soul with Jamie Foxx, that movie's phenomenal that Pixar did. And it went straight to Disney Plus. I remember seeing this going, I wish I could have seen this on the big screen.
There are people at home that are just like, but I like watching it at home. Shut up.
That's fair. And many people do have a great home theater setup that I envy. So sure.
I have a great TV at home. It's important to me because I love sports, but I would rather watch a movie on the big screen with the sound and everything calibrated correctly. Doug, what's another in your storied film career? What's the next sequel, Doug Jones movie sequel? Like what movie have you been in that you're like, this sequel should happen?
Oh, wow. Well, I've done original and sequel movies about 3 times now. I did Hellboy 1 and 2.
That's right.
I did Benchwarmers 1 and 2.
Come on.
Yeah.
Benchwarmers 2 was not in the theater. That was a direct to DVD.
Direct to the DVD. Yeah.
That's right. And,
but I came back as number 7, my robot character.
Of course you did.
And
I saw the first one of those. I did not see the second. I'm sorry, Doug.
I saw the second one because I was in it. And of course Hocus Pocus 1 and 2. So if there was another sequel that I would like to redo, it would not be one of Del Toro's artsy movies, because Pan's Labyrinth and The Shape of Water need to stay where they are and remain the encapsulated classics that they are. I still am. I'm to the day I die, I may lament that we weren't able to make a Hellboy 3. Okay. That's what I'm probably.
Yeah.
And I hear about it constantly from the fan
kind of like Golden Army, the second one, more than the first one. I like them both, but Ron Perlman's a treat, and you're great. That's a fun cast of characters there. I enjoyed those movies quite a bit. Have you seen them?
I haven't seen Hellboy 1 or 2.
Okay, when there was talk of Hellboy 3. In fact, Hellboy 2 ended with that in mind.
Yeah.
And Guillermo del Toro had the story in his head and had shared a couple of those tidbits with Ron Perlman, and so they were both kind of excited to make a Hellboy 3. Again, these are decisions that are way above my pay grade, so it might have been a money issue, it might have been a studio issue, I don't know. But instead of a Hellboy 3, we got the Hellboy reboot. Yeah. With David Harbour playing Hellboy. Right. I did go see it because I wanted to see what we were dealing with.
Hopper. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And it was good. It was not a Del Toro film.
Very different.
Very different. And and again, it didn't do well, and the critics didn't like it as much. So I think the Hellboy franchise, I'm not sure what happened to it after that. So but when the news came out that this reboot was happening, Ron and Selma and I all got on text with each other going, well, I guess that's it.
Yeah.
So
it's tough to go back for a 3 when there's been a whole
when there's been
reboot.
Yeah, the guy in the middle. Yeah, it's hard to ignore. So we but Ron Perlman said it best. He sent it his last text in that whole thread of ours was, you know what? If we got 2 great movies and lifelong friendships out of this, we did okay.
Yeah, and that's cool to hear. I mean, anytime you hear that there's a group of people that made like a series of movies that still group chat together, I mean, that's fun. I mean, that's better than being on a big budget movie and having really no heart in it at all. So that makes me happy to hear.
You mentioned talking about doing Star Trek and how, you do this one episode and then you got to go right to the next one. Yeah. Do you now you've been doing it for years, so I'm sure you're kind of used to it by now, but do you have a much of a preference if you had to either just do movies or just do series work? Do you have a preference? I'm sure there's pros to each, even though they're both challenging.
Yeah, well, I would, sorry, the garbage truck's about to come outside. So if we hear you'll know what happened.
Yeah.
I would prefer the schedule and the start and stop of a feature film. Yeah, I prefer that because you see a script, you know what's coming, you know how this is going to end, and you can move on to the next project or the next thing. And you also commit to 3 months, 6 months, maybe, if it's a big movie shoot, and so you can see a start, you can see the end of the tunnel as you get into it. With a series, the tunnel may never end, you never know. And
guys, Hallmark, why haven't you? This is Doug's dream job. It's a 15-day movie shoot and then it's done.
That's what I'm saying.
Doug Jones for Hallmark. Doug Jones for Hallmark. Hashtag Doug Jones for Hallmark. I don't know what we need to do on the line to get this to happen.
Part of the problem has been my schedule on Star Trek Discovery, because they do take up the bulk of my year. And I have had a couple of Hallmark directors or producers that have seen these chats of mine with you and have been like, hey, if you're interested, I'm making something, we have a role that would be great for you. And then it's like, I'm going to be in Toronto on Star Trek. I'm sorry. So that has happened a couple of times. So, so the word is out. The love is out. But in the meantime, I did get to do another project that felt kind of Hallmark-ish just recently. I had a little break in filming on Star Trek Discovery and was able to work out a week on a new series that's going to be airing on the PureFlix streaming platform. PureFlix being now a division of Sony. They're family-friendly, faith-based streaming service. And this show is an anthology show. So every episode is a different story, different cast. So my episode, I get to play a human. I'm not allowed to go into all the details of it, but it's called the whole series is called Destination Heaven. And it was our showrunner is producer writer Dean Batali from That 70s Show. Wow. Okay. It was written with such crisp dialogue and hilarious humor. I was so happy to do it, and I was in and out of the makeup trailer in 7 minutes. Man, wow, unbelievable! And so getting to play, this self-contained episodic story with a very, very happy, uplifting ending. It was like, okay, I'm in the wheelhouse I want to live in now. So
there is something truly magical about Hellboy being in a show called Destination.
That's right. Hellboy monster.
And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's going to be March-ish of 2023 that this series will be available on PureFlix.
Let us know for sure. I want to hear about that.
And in the meantime, while we're also talking about what's coming up, I'm also a recurring guest on What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh my! Are you back?
And Doug. Season 4 just finished airing. Okay,
I watch it on Hulu, so I'm not caught up yet. It's one of my favorite shows on TV, though. Okay, well then I won't ruin it for you, but I'm back in if you haven't seen season 4 in its entirety, I am in season 4. It's the episode called The Wedding, I believe. My goodness. I can't wait.
So I go through another transformation as the Baron, which I think you're going to appreciate.
Dude.
And then I just got called that I'm going to be doing another episode in their season 5, which starts filming this month. So.
How much fun is it to be on that? I know that we love you, but I can't not ask. Like that set, is everyone just laughing in between takes hysterically?
This is one of those rare jobs where I look forward to going into work every day, no matter how much makeup I have to wear. It doesn't matter. We laugh all day, and these people are such silly loves. I adore everyone in the cast, and they're all hilariously funny. And the production, the network, even they encourage. We do a few takes on script, and then they encourage going off script for a couple of fun takes. And that's where all this improv happens, and all these brilliant comedians I'm working with go off the page so far that you're like, how did they ever find their way to that place? But in there are comedic gems that they'll keep. So
I mean, the original movie that Taika Waititi directed
yes.
is it feels like it's all improv. It's got like a mockumentary feel to it. It since the show, the whole thing, that whole bit I find to be hysterical. And you on there was such a treat. And so I'm so happy I get to see that again. Thank you for letting me know, because that's next on our list.
More love coming. Yeah.
I mean, come on. My question was, you're doing Discovery pretty much, for what, 3-4 months of the year? Is that about right?
Oh, more like 8 or 9, depending.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So how, now that you're, a seasoned veteran who doesn't have to take every role offered him and can be, picky about this and know that I've done enough and I've got a show on for 5 seasons and I've been in all these movies and the phone's gonna ring and it doesn't I don't have to do all these. I don't have to rush and grind. If you're spending all this time on Star Trek, how picky are you when it comes to the rest of it? How discerning are you when you talk with your wife about spending time at home and going, okay, I'm not going to play 4 monsters this year. You know what I mean? What is it that goes through that process now for Doug Jones?
I believe you may have just quoted me verbatim. Okay, I'm not going to play 4 monsters this year. I'm at that place now. Yes. Where, I kind of, now that I'm 62 years old now.
No way.
Oh, bless you. Thank you.
Come on.
I know I look fabulous, don't I? But I am at a place where I'm like, I'm still in very usable shape and I'm still performing well, but I feel, at least I'm told I am. So the last thing I want to do though is to start fading on camera. At some point where I don't ever want to hear someone say, "Oh, Doug used to be good." I want to avoid that happening. So when it comes to the rubber bits, I will want to retire them at some point. Maybe when my contract with Star Trek Discovery is done, however many seasons we're going to go. But in the meantime, I have been more picky. If Guillermo del Toro calls and says, "I want you to play a monster," whatever he says, it's a yes. Yeah, and he knows that. And anyone else, it's like it has to be a story I'm really wanting to help tell, a character that I really want to delve into, and if all that's not in place, and if it's a director I really want to work with or other actors I want to work with, if all that's not in place, and I'm more confident in saying no now.
Yeah,
if I need to.
I just, as a follow-up, understanding that because if Guillermo del Toro calls, it's an offer, not an audition, because he knows he's calling you. Yeah. Do you ever just show up to that meeting not knowing what the monster is, just excited like Christmas morning to find out what kind of nonsense Guillermo's got for me this time?
Oh, yes. Yeah, in fact, that happened. He's given me a script all the time. I don't think I've ever said yes before reading it. Oh, I said yes to The Shape of Water. That was a verbal, like, Dougie. When we were filming Crimson Peak. Where I played 2 of his ghost ladies.
Yeah, that's a wild movie.
Right. So it was. And that was 2014 when we were filming that. So it was long before Shape of Water ever came out. But or was even made. During that filming, I had a day off, and Guillermo asked me to come to his office during lunchtime to discuss, something. And I'm like, oh gosh, I'm not in trouble. What happened? And it was him kind of pitching me the idea of The Shape of Water. And so I was like, yes. Okay, now what's the story? Yeah, that was that day.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I love it. Of course, when he told me it was a fish man again, I said, "Well, I've already played one of those for you. Is there any connection?" No, not at all. Okay, so then he explained
it's different fish man, different fish
altogether. Yeah, yes, I may be one of the only actors out there who's played 2 fish men in his career.
Yeah.
Also, I've played 2 kangaroo men in my career. Okay, so for anyone who really knows my resume out there, you're going to guess that. But the first one was Tank Girl. Yeah, I was one of the.
You're in Tank Girl?
we were half kangaroo, half man mutants that were kind of
Classic.
Classic Tank Girl.
Classic Tank Girl. And then the other one was Warriors of Virtue, a kung fu kangaroo fighting sort of kids movie that came out.
I've not seen that one.
1997 that came out. So you would have been, again,
I'd have been 14 years old.
You've been right in the pocket of who we were.
Yeah, maybe just a skosh too old for
Warriors of Virtue.
Kung Fu Kangaroos.
I'm looking it up, believe you me.
It's close. It's close. Doug, forgive me for not knowing if you've actually done this or not, but your whole career you've been in front of the camera doing monsters, doing all sorts of different stuff. Have you ever had any interest in directing or producing anything? Have you done that before, or do you have any interest to do it in the future?
Nope. Other than making a video for Instagram, I don't want to direct jack nothing. Because I have watched so many friends age exponentially while directing a film. Wow. It's a lot of pressure. I don't deal with stress well. So the stress I take on just creating one character is, I can't imagine directing all of them. I felt like I knew that answer because of how you say that's above my pay grade. You know what I mean? Like you don't say that like you're like, you wish it was your pay grade. Right. You say it like
you're
with
glad
full
it's not.
Confidence of, listen, I don't have to answer this. Yeah. This is above my pay grade.
Thank you. I like to clock out and go home.
That's right. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. You don't have to watch dailies. You don't have to do any of that. You just do your thing.
Not my problem. Not my problem.
Yeah. We got to let you go here in just a minute. You got another thing you got to do. Yeah. But going back really quickly, Hocus Pocus 2, it's coming out at the end of this month. Everyone's very excited about it. I'm going to ask you a question that you probably is above your pay grade. But because this one took so long to finalize and to get everybody together, did they work in an option if this one does well? We know we want to bang out another one like next year, or is this kind of probably it to get those three people plus you together for another one?
Well, hey, Bran, that's above my pay grade. but I don't know the work that it took to get this sequel to happen. I can't imagine if they do a part 3, it would probably be that other option of, carrying on the kids that are in this movie to carry them on into the next instead of all of us originals. Probably that would be my guess.
Have you seen the film yet, or are you just seen it at the New York premiere?
I have not been to the New York premiere yet. That's happening in a couple of weeks. Okay, right before it comes out on Disney Plus. So I've only seen the tidbits that I've gone into, do some voice looping to fix my dialogue, and it looks great. Like, it looks funny, and I made myself chuckle. So that's I don't always like my work. So
I love it. Danny, you got anything else?
No, that's it. Doug, we could literally talk to you all day long, and that. Thank you. You're so generous with your time.
We really I love you guys so much.
You're the best, man.
And I can't wait for October. What is it, October 21st to come? Was that when Hallmark starts? It's 24/7.
Yeah, that's it. 21st, 22nd, something like that. We're very excited about it, and we will get you back this holiday season.
Please,
we will move hell or high water.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to be available after Thanksgiving. I should be ready to go.
Fantastic. You're going to be home for December.
I'll be home and done. Yes.
Fantastic. Wow. I know you, like, last few years, I feel like you're always getting home like a few days before Christmas.
Right. Well, our filming schedule on Star Trek Discovery it's a bit different months every year. So this time I have holiday season to myself. Okay.
Fantastic, buddy.
Well, I'm happy for you.
You just hang out on the couch, you watch yourself some Hallmark. You earned it.
I'm so gonna. Yeah.
All right, Dougie. Everybody go see, and by go see, I mean, turn on your TV if that's what you want to do. Hocus Pocus on the Disney Plus. Until we talk to you next time, maybe the first to wish you a Merry Christmas.